Welcome back. Today
Hello, my name is Murungwa Makumure. I dream to become a chef. On this World Children's Day, let's celebrate our childhood by learning more about children's rights. Let's not depend on our class teachers. I pray for equal education for all the children.
All right, today is World Children's Day, and like everything else, it's taking place during the COVID-19 pandemic. To talk more about the challenges for children, especially their education, we're joined by children's rights advocate Ntsako Mhlanga. Thank you very much, Ntsako, for coming to eNCA. Now, of course, in South Africa, I always think, for instance, when you think COVID-19 this year and how the impact that it has on children, I think specifically about how children had to learn online, and it's definitely not everyone in South Africa that can afford that. In fact, more people cannot afford to do that.
And thank you so much for that, because that is a reality that not just learners living in rural areas or in townships had to experience. I mean, when you look at the upper middle class as well, the internet became more of a necessity than actual food in the fridge. So, COVID really put us in a position where it exposed a lot of the, different injustices and the different barriers to education. I mean, to a point where half of the kids in the nation couldn't even study simply because everything was online. So we now look at accessibility, we look at the different opportunities for kids. So yeah, it really, and it's not just something that affected people in the rural areas and learners in the rural areas. It really affected a lot of the population.
In South Africa and in the continent and many other parts of the world, really, when we think of World Children's Day, it's not really anything that we can celebrate, can we?
Not yet. Similar to Women's Day, for as long as there's still injustices, for as long as there's still things happening to kids that are barring them from actually getting equal education, I don't think so. It's not something to celebrate, but more of a reminder of what more work we need to do. And I really, something that I thought about on my way here is the fact that even under the pandemic, when we're looking at the different learners who couldn't access education, I felt like our networks, our telecoms networks could have done something about that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying nothing was done about it, but, I felt like a little bit more could be done to accommodate South Africa at large, and just looking at how many people, actually do and do not have access to internet. And sometimes I think social media tends to cloud our judgment because you get 12,000 likes and you think, oh, everyone has access to the internet, but it's really not the case. There are more people that are without the internet than are with the internet.
And when you talk about access to education, in South Africa, it's always access to quality education that is the problem here. I mean, for instance, I think it was on Wednesday where we were celebrating World Toilet Day. Actually, that was yesterday. And the face of that, is a child, Michael Komape, in Limpopo, who went to school but died at school in a pit latrine.
So I think we also, as a people, need to stop looking at education as just an education thing. We need to consider the different aspects of education that make it quality. So I'm thinking infrastructure is the first one that you mentioned now, about toilets. I'm thinking now internet connectivity, which is something we may think just came now, but it's not the case. Then we look at social justice, we look at social development as well. So now we're looking at the social setting of the actual child and how to make that quality education within that social setting. Then we look at transport. So once we start as a people looking at education more of a holistic view, that education is the center, but we have different departments around it that need to also focus on their part in education, then we can focus on World Children's Day and actually celebrate it and now look at education from a quality perspective. But it can't just happen from just a curriculum aspect of it. That can improve, but if everything around it doesn't improve, then we can't really say we have quality education yet.
Should our leaders in South Africa perhaps listen more to what children have to say? I mean, we still, I know that we are African and we'll always have to respect our elders, right?
Yes.
But should our elders also try and listen to what children are saying they want and they need?
And I think with respecting our elders, it starts with me looking at you when you're talking to me. It starts with us also voicing our opinion for the betterment of everybody. I think also respect is in teaching as well. So as a young person, I feel like I can teach my elder certain things about the youth that they don't know. But I really, really do feel like our leaders can. But I don't want to look at leaders leaders from a departmental or government aspect. I want to look at corporate leaders as well. I would like to think that your organization would like to live for 100 years. What are you doing to contribute to that? And the people in your organization are the ones that keep it going. So how are you now contributing to the future leaders, the future heads of department that are going to be in your organization? So I say leaders everywhere, you know, people who are looking at South Africa from a corporate aspect, from a government aspect, even from an NGO aspect. You know, there's a lot of people who work in NGOs. You know, I think I want to look at people who are leading in departments that contribute to education from a broader, you know, aspect, rather than just government. Like I said, education is everyone's problem.
All right, thank you very much, Ntsako Mhlanga, joining us here in studio. Let's